last year, a 16-year-old girl in Morocco committed suicide after she was forced to marry the man who raped her. She was raped by a 23-year-old, and she got married because that's the law there. In order to protect her family's honor, since her virginity has been taken away from her, she has to marry him and make sure that the family's honor remains intact. Well,
how honorable.
Yeah, the relationship.
Like, oh, my daughter got raped. Well, the honorable thing would be to reward the rapist by having my daughter marry her for the rest of her life.
So, of course, the relationship ends up being extremely abusive. And it was so abusive that she ended up committing suicide. So it's a very tragic story. I remember talking about it on the Young Turks. Well, Morocco has decided to outlaw this traditional practice. It's referred to as Article 475 of the Penal Code there. And they are no longer planning on forcing women to marry the men that rape them.
Are they not merciful?
I know.
By the way, just understand, that's what they're planning. It hasn't passed yet. They're like, hopefully we can get enough votes for people to say, hey, perhaps we shouldn't reward the rapist.
Though, another thing is, that is such a tiny, I mean, it's not a tiny problem, it's a huge problem, but it's just one aspect of a huge issue in that country when it comes to women's rights. They have absolutely no comprehensive laws that protect women's rights, and honestly, they think of women as property, right? So, for instance, let me give you an example of that. If you are a woman who has been raped, but you've had sex before, that person who raped you can get a maximum of 10 years in prison, okay? However, the penalties are much harsher if you were a virgin when you got raped.
In fact, it's double. It goes from 10 years to 20 years. Now, why? Why would you double the penalty if a virgin is raped? Because they don't view it as protecting the woman, they view it as protecting property, to Anna's point. And if a woman is a virgin, she is more valuable property. So she gets more protections. Well, if I stole $5 from you, you might get 10 years. If you steal $500,000 from me, you'd get 20 years, right? So it's basically grand theft if you're raping a woman who's a virgin. And look, it's not to say that every Moroccan thinks that. Of course not. And there'll be Moroccans watching this saying, hey, we don't agree with that at all. And look, they're trying to at least begin the process of changing that.
And the reason why that process is changing is because Moroccans took to the street and they protested. So,
yes.
So just like we said with the story of rape in India, you know, it's the people of India that went to the streets, both men and women, fighting for harsh laws against rapists. And the same thing is happening in Morocco.
And so our point is that you've got to move on, and obviously a lot of Moroccans agree with us, from the old culture, because just because it's part of your culture doesn't mean it's right. Now, this part of the culture in this case is abhorrent, and anyone with a shred of decency and real morality, not the fake morality of fundamentalists, should understand that. You know, and I'm always amazed at what culture can do to warp people's minds, because your genetic instinct as a father is to protect your kids. I mean, that is as big an instinct as any human being could ever have about anything.
How do you marry your daughter off to the man who brutally raped her?
To protect your stupid, lousy honor? I mean, think about it. Even if you believed in that mindset and that perverse idea of morality, think about how selfish that is. I would like to protect my honor, so I'm going to send my daughter to a rapist for him to abuse her for the rest of her life. Sick.